Hello everyone, welcome to Carrow Road on this beautiful August morning. It is August the 4th. It is a little bit later than we should have been live, and we are here at Carrow Road because there are 10 coaches filled with Norwich City fans, filled with pre-season optimism as Norwich City begin their EFL Championship campaign at Birmingham City. St Andrews is the destination. That is where we're headed to. We are live on Facebook. If you want to get your comments in, I'll try and pick them up on here. It's been a while since we've done this, so I'm a little bit out of practice, which might be why we're a little bit late as well. I thought we could go on Coach 8. What do you reckon, Dave? Dave Freed's on the camera.
Yeah, I reckon that's a bit lively. Now that you survived being attacked by a wasp.
Yes, I think so. It could still be in my hair, we're not sure. A little bit of gossip. Apparently, well, Nelson Oliveira was at Nando's last night, I believe. And likewise, Ben Godfrey has just stepped out of his flat, which is not too far from here, which would mean that neither of those two have travelled with the squad. Ben Godfrey would be a bit of a surprise, but there we go. There is a coach leaving. There it is. There's one of the coaches. That could be the assisted coaches. The assisted coach normally leaves a bit earlier, but if not, it'll be a normal one. Let's get on Coach 8. Your driver's not here, so I have commandeered the coach. Coach 8, you're live on the PinkUn Facebook page. Hello, good morning! Let's have you're in the front row, sir, so you get the lucky straw. What's your name?
Andy.
Andy. Looking forward to today. I mean, this is the first game of the season. Surely you must be filled and brimming over with optimism.
Yeah, I can't think of anything but good things, really. It's going to be good. Pookie's going to, I don't know, power it home, so it's going to be awesome.
He's the one that's exciting you most for the summer business?
Yeah, I mean, his name literally means goat, so he'll be the goat, so it's going to be good.
How can he not be? What's your name, sir? Trying to look like you're not going to get involved?
Yeah, I'm trying not to. Facebook radio. Yeah, Ricky.
Ricky. Nice to meet you, Ricky. What do you reckon today, then? I mean, Birmingham have had a bit of a muddled summer, haven't they? So it's hard not to think that Norwich could take advantage of that.
Nothing, means nothing, though. Look at Reading last night. Didn't win a pre-season game, but unlucky to win last night. So anything could happen.
Anything could happen. Go on, quick prediction.
2-0 Norwich.
I'd say 3-1 Norwich.
Look at that, 2-0, 3-1. I think that was what you said, wasn't it, Andy? And the driver is waiting for us to come on. So that's all good. I think the driver's just giving him a little warning about the box there. That's good. Thank you, Mr. Bus Driver. Cheers all, have a good trip, enjoy it. They did say away. Hang on a minute. What's your name, sir?
My name's Dave.
Are you looking forward to this trip?
Certainly.
You don't get to see the football, do you?
Not often, but we do when we get a chance.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, fingers crossed today. Are you a Norwich fan?
I am indeed.
Fingers crossed. Prediction then. Last one.
Oh, 4-2.
Good man. We're on straight wins here. So now the drivers are getting on the coaches. I'm getting the sense that they do actually want to leave. So let's just go down this side, Dave. See if we can get a look. If you look down there, we've got 3 coaches leaving. Obviously not the most exciting of wide shots, but there we go. Another 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10.
10 in total, so it shows that there's a big old support going today. You're probably looking at a couple of thousand at least, aren't you?
They're waving, Dave. Get nice and close. Let the fans wave. Let the waving. We've got some of your messages coming through as well, so we'll get through a few of those. Look at that, brimming with optimism. They're all waving. No one's doing any nasty waves at me as well, which is always good. There goes Coach 8. Look at them. They're all excited. There's a good guy waving here. Here's Coach 4. There's some nice waves. Just a wave. There we go. A few waves there. And an inflatable football at the back, Dave. Inflatable football. Let's see them all off individually, shall we? This is good. Coach 7. Here's Coach 7. Looks a very jolly bus driver on there. Look, she's waving too. Oh, but blacked out windows. That's an issue. And finally, Coach 9. Coach 9. Oh, fist pumps, and waves. There's Neil Austin. Everyone's smiling. Coach 9, probably the place to be, I imagine. So we're going to try and do this show each time Norwich leave away from home, give or take. So if you're on the coaches, whichever, come and see us and say hello. It's always good to hear from you. Let's have a look at some of your messages. We're live on Facebook at the moment, by the way. Sue Cassidy says hi from Lanzarote. Sue, I guess you're not going to the game today. So of course, PinkUn.com for full live coverage with me and Dave. Joe Spence was more. I'm assuming that's because that was your maiden name. Morning, come on the boys, do us proud. New season, new squad, new optimism, or at least finish above Ipswich, which of course we've all kind of forgotten didn't happen last year. Let's just erase that from our memory. And Christine, a wave from bus number 9. Lol, I hope, Christine, that was you waving whilst you were posting that message. Fingers crossed. It's all gone very quiet all of a sudden, Dave, and it's just us, which probably means we're now late for leaving. But should we go over to the tripod? Because, of course, if we've got Dave Freezer here, we need to speak to him. We don't want to just have me and a wasp holding a conversation, because that wouldn't be very exciting. I imagine the wasp still is residing in my hair, which is always good, of course. Here's Dave's lovingly prepared tripod. There you go. Just bear with us 2 seconds and we'll have a quick chat. And we're going around this way, Dave,
looks like
with
it.
the resplendent background of the car park. It's good. I like it. Looks a bit different to previous times. Come on then, Dave. Let's have a nice chat.
Turn you around so we get Carrow Road.
All right, okay. Dave doing some good directing here. We are, of course, it's just me and Dave today. Paddy managed to squeak a day or two off. I don't know how he managed that. Although I had missed my fair share of first games of the season as well, Dave. Dave, what do you reckon team-wise I'm going to ask you about? Because I know we've discussed it a lot, but when you work through the squad, I'm thinking there are going to be players that will be missing. In fact, let me just show you the squad that I've sort of picked for today. It's based quite heavily on what we got at Charlton, but there are players there who aren't featuring, like Stiepermann, and and we already know that Ben Godfrey. Well, it sounds like he hasn't travelled, so.
Yeah, I like the shape there. You've moved people about into the appropriate positions.
It's literally a free-for-all.
James Husband is, I suppose, the imponderable, but I think we'll see him stay in, won't we? Just because it's going to be harsh on Max Aarons to chuck him straight in. Some people pick themselves, don't they? Hanley, Closer, Krul, Marshall. I think we can be fairly sure on that one. Rhodes, yeah, it's an interesting one. As we sort of touched on a little bit on the Facebook Live, it is a gamble, isn't it? If he picks up an injury, then you look very stupid all of a sudden. So we'll see how that turns out. But the thing I'm sort of concerned, or maybe not concerned about, but unsure about, is what they're going to be facing in Birmingham. I mean, Gary Monk is a manager that we know likes to play good football, likes to play passing football, but they were scratching about for their lives at the end of last season, and looking back at the stats, they had the highest amount of successful aerial duels in the whole division, which I wouldn't have said for Birmingham. But then they've got somebody like Harley Dean, haven't they, who is a big unit, who was previously at Brentford, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And they've got Yotta, who on his day can be fairly unplayable in the Championship, although he hasn't had many of those days for Birmingham. So knowing what to expect from either side, I think is quite difficult to predict at this stage of the morning.
Definitely, just in general. Controversial scenes here as a coach has returned. So someone's obviously been lost or forgotten or dropped their bag, or they're disappointed we didn't speak to them. I think the last one is probably the least likely.
I demand to speak to Michael Bailey.
Yeah. Let's have a look at the fixtures, just in case you haven't seen these so far. These are this is what the opening set of fixtures, really, because there are a couple of games on Tuesday as well. A couple of teams getting a second early game in. The Reading won up against Derby and actually lost in basically the last minute of injury time. Couldn't believe how late that winner was.
94th minute was it?
Yeah. Two pretty decent goals, although I think the first one was owed a bit to Vita Minoni's mistake. Pretty awful. Well, it wasn't a great game, to be honest. I thought Reading were sort of a little bit light, and Derby did it without really doing a lot.
I wasn't able to watch it live, but yeah, I mean, Tom Lawrence is a player who, it sounded like he might leave Derby. It sounded like he was surplus to requirements under Frank Lampard, but not so much today. Not
so much today, no. So that's the first start. There it is. The coach is off. Clearly, it had nothing to do with speaking to us. So
foot to the floor.
Foot to the floor. Let's just have a look at the other fixtures, shall we? Sorry, that was what I was going to say. Ipswich hosting newly promoted Blackburn. Nottingham Forest, big spenders. They're at Bristol City, who we have a difference of opinion over. I kind of feel that they've probably lost a bit of their quality this year. Wigan, newly promoted. They're hosting Sheffield Wednesday, who is one of those teams who have struggled a bit under a transfer embargo this summer. Middlesbrough, Tony Pulis, dial up to 11. They're headed to Millwall, who of course had such a wonderful season last term, and Rotherham, Paul Warne's Rotherham, headed to Brentford. Swansea, Sheffield United, that's in the evening, that should be good. Leeds, Stoke, and then Hull Villa, a couple of cracking games to round off the weekend.
I don't think I'd want to be watching Borough Millwall. That sounds like it could be a fairly brutal game.
Indeed. It's got a couple more messages as well. What have we got here? Truthfully, in your opinion, what's your opinion on our front line? I believe Rhodes will refine his form with us. I mean, that would be good. And I do think Jordan will prove a pretty useful signing. Part of me wants Nelson to stay, because I think if you had Nelson then on the bench, that would also strengthen it, because Dennis is possibly the one that might not deliver. Timu Pukki, I like what he can do. It's something a little bit different, but I do still think they're missing some raw pace up top.
Yeah, plenty to find out. Dennis Trebenny's an interesting one. People probably saw we did our pre-season survey. Over 3,000 people took part in that, and that was in yesterday's 16-page PinkUn, wasn't it, the full results? And I think poor old Dennis got 0% for who's going to be top scorer this season.
As a striker.
As a striker. So with Jordan Rhodes top with 60-ish%, I think it was, and then Pookie not far behind. So that's kind of a reflection of where Dennis is at the moment, but you never know. If the guy gets a couple of early goals this season, then that might change.
That'd be good, wouldn't it? Fingers crossed.
Yeah, but yeah, Rhodes, I like what I've seen from him in pre-season, but he's still got a long way to go to being back to the player that he used to be.
Brilliant stuff. A couple more messages. Steve Jones says, hi from Berkhamsted. I feel a good win. Do you know where Berkhamsted is? No.
I'll say London.
London, why not? It sounds Londonish. Sarah Peck, new squad, new season, working on a wedding at Barnum Broom today. Come on, Norwich. Sarah, I hope the wedding goes well. Andrew Reeve, come on, City. Ben Tsukiyumi, can we be friends? Of course we can, Ben. Just, send us a message. Walter, let's get the season off to a flyer. Yellows, OTBC. Rachel Carter, 2-1 to Norwich. Gritty smiley face and a football. That's always good emoji work.
I love the optimism of opening day. There's no negativity around with anyone, is there? But then 10 minutes into the start of the season, that balloon.
10 minutes. You're giving us 10 minutes.
Well, you think back to Colchester. Yeah. Things can go badly quite quickly, can't they? But that will always haunt Norwich fans. But yeah, I've seen predictions floating around of 1-1, which seems to fit for me. I think it's two teams maybe still in a bit of transition, and the main thing I want to see from Norwich today is a controlled performance, a solid performance, get off on a steady footing, and then try and bring in some of the better football from, once you've got a solid foundation. Because you think about these first three games, Birmingham, a bit of an unknown quantity today. West Brom at home, tough game. Sheffield United away, another tough game. Then Leeds home, is it, after that? So
sounds right.
That's a tough start to the season, really. You need to make sure you're on a solid footing, and then try and bring in the fancier football perhaps from there.
Indeed. Katie Lee says Norwich 3-2 win today, and David Platten says tough first 7 games. I put us on 9 to 12 points. They are tough. It's so hard to know what anyone else is going to do, because there's the teams that looked good last year that might well not be, and there are others that are a revelation. And it was interesting doing what I thought of the predicted lineup in the Championship, how it would finish, because there is an opportunity if teams aren't as good as they were or haven't gelled well, that Norwich, having they've kind of had a season of doing what they're doing, if they can build on it, they could challenge this year actually. I think that, but there's so many things they need to get right for that to happen.
Yeah, a lot of things need to click into place for that to happen. I mean, Leeds are a good example of what you're just saying there. I mean, there's a lot of people bowing down at the altar of Marcelo Bielsa before the start of the season, but I just think that's going to be a car crash. I mean, there's some people saying that they're going to get in the playoffs, but this is a guy that's used to dealing with players like Lionel Messi, quite literally, and Pep Guardiola is somebody who credits him with being his inspiration, but he's going to get to Leeds, and very quickly, as a lot of former players do, like Frank Lampard may do at Derby at times this season, and he's going to get frustrated with the quality of player that he's got, because he's going to be like, why can't you carry out my plans? And this guy, he's known as El Loco, isn't he? You can just see that going wrong in classic Leeds style. I
mean, it's interesting they've sold Ronaldo Vieira, and likewise Patrick Bamford. I mean, you don't have to speak to many Norwich fans about Patrick Bamford, and Patrick Bamford's success came at Middlesbrough, who have just sold him after a second spell, so they weren't clearly that well. Admittedly, probably never going to be a Pulis signing, but still.
Me and Chris Lakey, I was surprised about Vieira being sold, but me and Chris Lakey were talking about Bamford earlier in the week when Leeds were signing him, and we're thinking, why ever are they paying that much money for him? And I looked at his stats, and he finished the season quite well. I think he scored something like 10 goals in his last 16 games of the season. So maybe we're being a little bit harsh on him.
But it still didn't impress Pulis then. He had that good a run under Pulis, and he still didn't.
No, yeah, I'd still have a fit and firing Britta Sombalonga ahead of him, and,
that's true.
And that's what Middlesbrough could have.
Indeed, it is indeed. Right, let's wrap through some more of these messages, shall we? Harry Green, where do you think Norwich will finish this year? Most Norwich fans will want at least a top 6. Or am I wrong in saying that? I think everyone will hope for a top 6. I don't think most will. I think most will expect an improvement and a top 10 and something exciting. But I guess we have to be aware of the quality they've let go as well. Steve Jones says Berkhamsted is near Watford. Lol. So I mean, we'd say that's London, isn't it? Basically.
Yeah. For people from Norfolk, that's London.
That's exactly right. Barry Newman. Michael, maybe I should read this first. Michael, when you interviewed Steve Stone this week, what did the newly laid Norwich pitch look like? No, I'm fine reading it, Godot. PS, 1-0 win today, Jordan Rhodes to open his account. Pitch looked wonderful. In fact, I felt quite bad standing on it, and I imagine the groundsman in the corner also felt really bad about us all standing on it too. And Jonathan Palmer may have missed it today. What's your predictions? 2-1. Like to see PinkUn Rhodes on the scorecard. Like it, Jonathan. Prediction, Dave?
Yeah, I'll stick with 1-1. I've got a feeling that that's where we're heading, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if it ends up being 4-0 either way either. Very difficult one to call this until we get to see some tangible evidence of what this Norwich team are going to do.
Yeah, with the summer Birmingham have had, I would like to think that a win is there for Norwich, regardless of what it could mean around it, and that a draw might resemble a missed opportunity, but we'll see. They haven't even kicked off yet. So no clips from the presser today, but you can of course watch Daniel Farker and Stuart Webber pretty much in full in terms of our chats with them. That's on the PinkUn YouTube channel and of course pinkun.com, so make sure you catch all of those now that we have finished broadcasting. We've got to see if we've got to help Radio Norfolk out now, haven't we?
Yeah, quite possibly might have a surprise guest in the Arch and Poolcast.
Let's see if we can dig out Cedric. If not, Dave's probably going to be doing co-coms, so there we go. So pinkun.com, of course, for full live coverage of this afternoon's game. Fingers crossed that it's a good one. Dave, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for all your messages, and we'll see you again for the next away game, of course, and we'll see you at St Andrews later on this afternoon. And if I can work the buttons, I'll say goodbye. Goodbye.